Hello and welcome to today's Appian tutorial. In this video, we are going to build an exciting rock, paper, scissors game where a user plays against the computer. So without any further delays, let's get started. First things first, let's break down the structure of our game. We will split the interface into two sections. The left side will be where the user makes their selection and the right side will show the computer's choice. Additionally, we will implement navigation to cycle through rock, paper, scissor icons one by one. So, I have already created a new interface called AS rock, paper, scissor where the game will take place. So, we'll create a layout using column layout component which allows us to organize our interface into distinct sections. To begin, drag the column layout component onto the screen, and by default, this component has 3 columns. Since we only need 2 main sections for our game, we will delete one of the columns. Now we have 2 equal sections, a left section and a right section. Next, we want to divide the left section into 3 smaller parts. The first section will hold the backward arrow, the middle section will display the icons for rock, paper and scissor, and the third section will hold the forward arrow. To achieve this, drag another column layout inside the left column to create 3 smaller sections. Let's switch to expression mode and crack on with it. In the first column layout of the left section, we will have a backward arrow icon, which will allow you to cycle back and reselect your choice if you change your mind. Here, I am using rich text component to display the backward icon. Now, to track the icon selection, we will define a new variable and initialize it with a value of 1, which will track the current icon. I am calling it current click and initializing it to 1, which represents the current icon. To make it clickable, I will use a bank dynamic link, which will be used to trigger the change of the current click when the backward arrow is clicked. In the save into parameter of a dynamic link, we will update the variable current click, and when this is clicked, we will subtract 1 from the current value. Here, our target is local current click, the variable which we want to update, and the value is local current click minus 1 as we have to subtract 1 on click of this icon. And to remove the inline style from the link in the backward arrow, we will use the link style parameter for styling. By default, it is set to inline. Now we will reset the value of this parameter to standalone, which will make the link look more like normal text instead of a hyperlink. Now to configure the forward arrow in a similar fashion as the backward arrow, we will apply the same logic. For backward arrow, we subtract 1 and cycle backward through the choices. And for forward arrow, we will add 1 and cycle forward through the choices. Clicking on this will move your selection forward. Initially, local current click is set to 1. When the forward arrow is clicked, local current click will be incremented by 1. So 1 becomes 2. But when the backward arrow is clicked, local current click will be decremented by 1. So 2 becomes 1. Now in the middle section, we display the 3 icons, rock, paper and scissor. This is where the user will see the available choices and select one by clicking on the icon. To display the icons dynamically, we will use for each loop. This loop will only iterate over local current click. Now let's define a variable holding a list of the available icons, rock, paper and scissor. We now have a variable called icons which holds the 3 possible choices the user can select from. The forward and backward arrows will modify the current click, which will dictate which icon to display. We have already defined a list of icons and we have this variable called local current click which tracks the current index, and now we will use index function to show the icon corresponding to the current index when the user clicks the arrows. Local current click starts at 1, pointing to the first icon in the list. In this case, for each loop is not really needed. You can directly use a bang rich text display field and replace FB item, which represents the current item being processed in the loop, with local current click, which tracks the current selection. Next, we need to display the icons as clickable elements. To do this, we will use Appian dynamic link, which will allow the user to select their choice when they click on it. We will define a new variable called local selected option, and when the user clicks an icon, in the save into parameter of the dynamic link, we will save the index of the clicked icon. This allows us to keep track of which icon the user has selected. Initially, the local selected option is set to null, and when an icon is clicked, the corresponding index is stored in this variable. By making the icons clickable and updating the local selected option based on the user's selection, we can easily track whether the user has made a choice. If local selected option is null, that means the user hasn't made a choice yet, and once they click an icon, the index will update, indicating that they have made their selection. And to ensure the clickable icons maintain consistent styling, we will set the link style to standalone. And to make the icons more prominent, we will simply adjust the size parameter to extra large. This will ensure all the icons appear large and are visually clear and clickable. Alright, so to make the middle icons appear different from the others, we will add the style to the middle icons, which will give these icons a nice visual. Additionally, we would also want to control the visibility of backward and forward arrows based on the current click index. Backward arrow should be visible only when local current click is greater than 1. Meaning the user is not at the first icon. Initially, the backward arrow is not visible because current click is 1. As I move to the next icon, the backward arrow becomes visible since the value of local current click is now greater than 1. Likewise, the forward arrow should only be visible when local current click is smaller than 3, which means the user hasn't yet reached the last icon. Initially, the forward arrow is visible because local current click is 1, but clicking this moves me to the next icon. Now the backward arrow becomes visible. Clicking this again moves me to the last icon, and the forward arrow becomes hidden because current click is 3. So if it is smaller than 3, it should be visible. If it is equals to or greater than 3, it shouldn't be visible. Now clicking this backward arrow moves me back to the second icon, and the forward arrow reappears. Cool. So to now prevent the user from cycling through the icons once they have made a choice, we can disable the backward and forward arrows after the user has made a selection. This can be done by adding a condition that checks whether the user has already selected an option, and if so, disable the arrows. So we have this variable called local selected option that keeps track of whether the user has made a choice. So these icons will remain clickable until the user makes a selection. So to prevent the user from selecting a new one when the choice is already made, I am using if statement in the link parameter to check whether or not local selected option is null. If local selected option is null, that means choice hasn't been made yet. In that case, we will let users cycle through the icons using the arrows. But once the user clicks on an icon and local selected option is updated, which means local selected option is not null anymore, in this case, these arrows will become unclickable, as I am passing empty list to this link parameter. And the icon will also become unclickable. So after selecting an icon, they will no longer be able to cycle through the icons, as the arrows will be disabled, and the icons themselves will also be disabled once a selection is made. We have done a great job so far. We have set up the basic interface and user selection logic, but there is still a lot to do to make this a fully functional game. In part 2, we will take it to the next level by make the computer choose randomly, compare the user's choice with the computer's choice and display the result. Be sure to hit the like button if you found this helpful, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss part 2. I will see you in the next one. Cheers, bye bye.